This episode of Outdoor Journal Radio is brought to you in part by the Invasive Species Center, protecting Canada's land and water from invasive species, and Sail, the ultimate destination for your outdoor adventures. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again, Outdoor Journal Radio, the podcast. I'm Angelo Vile. He's Peter Bowman. We've got Volvo over there. We got Nick over there, and we have Dean over there, which is actually over here.
I knew you were going to correct that one because he's
over there, but he's actually over here. So, and he's over there, and he's over there, and he's there,
so
and I'm here. And now here we're all together. Thank you.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bullshit Dean. I just looked at Bullshit Dean there. Okay.
Later on, we'll be joined by our good friend from the...
Speaking of bullshit. He's as good as it gets, that boy right there.
From the right coast of Canada, from the East Coast, our good friend Jeff Wilson, who is known for a lot of things. Probably his most high-profiled position is director of the Miramichi Striper Cup.
Come on now.
Each year, actually twice a year now, right? There's a spring and a fall. We'll talk to him
now
about
too, a smaller fall event. Yep.
But just all around outdoorsman, great angler, good friend, and he'll be talking to us today about some interesting new events that he's involved in coming up that we are involved in as well.
Correctamundo.
But before we do all of that stuff, we need to do something else.
Housekeeping. Like shop.fishingcanada.com, Ange. You ever been there before?
Yes.
You ever been there before?
But I go through the front.
Check out that right there. Behind us. Those that are just listening, we have three beautiful restock for the season hoodies.
Nice.
The new Fishing Canada style. Not the old Fishing Canada. Is the old logo on there anywhere at all?
No.
Not even on the sleeve or anything like that?
Reinterpretation of the Fishing Canada trademark.
Okay.
Right? And
I like it. It's very cool.
It's just for these particular hoodies.
Yeah.
You can't get it anyplace else.
Okay.
And it's
Will it be used anyplace else in the future, do you think, or no?
No.
That's it. It's done.
Absolutely
That's
done.
etched in stone.
Etched
you will not
in
use that. There's no
stone.
T-shirt.
Never,
Like imagine
ever
a nice
again.
T-shirt with that on there.
Can't.
God, that'd be awesome.
It would be a contravention of my agreement.
Oh.
So there you go. Ooh, and we don't want to do that.
All right. And that's just one item. That's just one great hoodie. We have so many
Fall is
there.
coming. It's here. Winter is upon us, so there'll be some winter goods there.
Stop it. Stop it.
It's going to be next week in New Brunswick.
Oh, don't say that. Have you looked at the weather? Is it bad?
They get frost every morning and night.
Frost isn't bad because you get nice days.
Frost leads to other things cold.
Okay, you gotta man
up. I'm not talking
a
frosty mug leading to cold beer either.
Well, we might have one of those out there.
I'm talking frost on the pumpkin.
Okay.
And that's time to go.
Largemouth Duncan.
There you go. See?
Thank you.
That's what we're going to be doing.
That's it. Hey,
we're going to be
dunking
I was
saying there?
As the frost grows on the pumpkin.
There you go.
There. What the hell that means, I have absolutely no idea. Listener feedback. I do know about that. Listener feedback this week. Keith Willems. Yeah, Willemsy. How do you pronounce that?
I don't know.
There's a few words I'm going to ask for your pronunciation here on this script. But that one's the first one.
Speaking of the store, Keith says, when will the store offer new merch? I'd love to start my day with a coffee using an Outdoor Journal Radio mug, or drink a beer, as we just talked about, from a can koozie. Maybe even a Fishing Canada branded lures. We've been waiting for a while, just saying.
That's a hell of an idea.
Look at that sucker. Dean did that, didn't he? I know Dean did that.
That's a hell of an idea.
It's a one-of-a-kind
I'm going to look here to talk to Dean.
Right there.
Yeah,
it's right there, Dean. Hey, Dean, wave to us, Dean. There you go.
That right there. Nick is actually Dean for me.
Oh. That's interesting.
That's a cool. You got a good job there, brother. That'd be a good little mug, wouldn't it?
It's a nice looking mug.
Wonder if we could.
There you go.
Get that through.
Talk to Nick about that. He's the feller who looks after the store.
Outdoor Journal or Fishing Canada mugs. I think if we're going to do one, we got to do the other too, right?
Well, yeah.
Definitely a Fishing Canada beer koozie, because when the boys are out having a beer after the day of the water.
Do you use koozies?
All the time.
I bring
them with me on the shoots.
I see you.
I got in my suitcase right now. Once I go to the East Coast, I'm going to bring Mercury one. I'm going to bring an STS Guide Service one, and I'll have Booyah Clean one. I'll have all three.
How come?
Because it's not. It keeps that beer just that much colder to the end.
Really?
Yeah.
But the end is never far down the timeline. That's the part I watch you with those. And I'm thinking, why the hell is he taking? It's taking him longer to get the in there than it is to drink the beer.
No,
just drink the damn thing.
You do what you do. I'll do what I do. I enjoy a cold beer.
So do I. That's why I drink it.
That's right.
I drink it. I don't let it get warm.
And mine doesn't get warm either.
No, because you got to put it in.
That's right, because it's koozie. Right. See? A little slower.
A little drum there would have been nice, but that's okay. That's okay. It's okay, Dean. You relax. You've had a tough.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
You've been on vacation for a week. It must have been hard on you. I feel terrible that you have to actually come in and work the day after.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
You got that right, Dean.
Keith Williams from Ontario wants to know.
What do you think? What do you think? Can we get Nick to make something up? Can we start something?
Well, it's hard to get. Nick is like herding cats, right? You never really know. You can wave that stick at them.
Well, you don't have not to say about your boys. Good to say about your boys today, do you?
Well, other than Volvo, I'm impressed. He hasn't started laying down yet, so that's a good sign. That's a good sign. All right, that's a really good sign. Moving on.
How's Miss Tangay today? She doing all right?
The Countess?
Yeah.
Doing great.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But I just want to know if you have anything to say about her. I want to hear it. Oh, God.
Her I can't pick on.
No, I don't blame you.
She bites back.
I don't blame you.
What do we got, Dean? Conservation Corner, right, Dean?
That's right.
Is that the next piece we're doing here?
That is.
And it's from over here, right?
Just one of these guys.
Yep.
We got all kinds of stuff.
By the way, Conservation Corner, brought to you by the Invasive Species Center.
They're back.
Give me a hell yeah!
They're back. I love it.
Would it be legal for us to do a "Give Me a Hell Yeah" T-shirt? Probably not. I'll bet you Stone Cold's got that trademarked.
Yeah, I bet he does.
For sure. That was huge back then. That was like so big. Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't
try it.
There's only so much stuff you can steal before you get caught.
You can make it. You just can't sell it, right? Couldn't you just make it and wear it around? You know.
Yeah. And what would be the purpose of that?
Yeah, just because you wanted to support that saying of "Give me a hell yeah."
That beautiful piece of artwork.
Give me a hell yeah on that one.
Give me a hell yeah!
Thank you, Steven.
Do you know that your favorite species of sport fish could be at risk, Mr. Bowman?
The grass carp, one of 4 species of Asian carp, have potential to outcompete native species for resources and have negative effects on species such as northern pike walleye, smallmouth bass, and yellow perch.
Wow.
Just to name a
eating
few.
Up to 40% of its body weight in aquatic vegetation and can also grow up to 80 pounds.
That was a big one.
That is huge. 80
That's
pounds.
a monster.
These fish would have no problem calling the Great Lakes and its tributaries their home. Now, the problem with that is that they've already started. So we need to be vigilant.
Do you think they're established? You said
they haven't established yet, but there's DNA evidence that they have crossed the barrier.
Yes,
we do know that.
We have to learn to identify them, report the species, and obviously, if you're out in the boat and you see, hear, smell one of these stupid things, I'm going to call them stupid things.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, you can
head
do that.
to asiancarp.ca to identify and make sure it's a grass carp, compare it to lookalikes, and download the reporting guide and make sure you report it and take care of that. Do not release that fish back into the wild if it's a grass carp. Do not release it back in the wild.
That's if you caught one. Apparently the chances of catching one,
if you see
even
one,
as an incidental catch, is 0.
Yeah,
because they're vegetarians.
You'd have to snag it. You'd have to actually
snag it. You'd have to snag it. Now we're not suggesting you do that either, by the way, because
you're trolling through 20 of them, and these hooks nowadays, they're so sharp it might get them in the head or something like that. Right. Who knows, right? It could happen.
And the only way you're going to know that it's not a common carp, which by the way is not one of the carps we're talking about.
No.
Nor
a mirror carp.
Nor a mirror carp. They're lovely. The only way to know is to arm yourself with information and download it. Download the image of this grass carp onto your phone. Mm-hmm. That's probably the best thing to do.
The best thing to do. Absolutely.
All that is available at Invasive Species Center.
Asiancarp.ca. Was it
Asiancarp.ca?
That's right.
Thanks, Dean.
You're welcome.
All right.
I looked at wrong Dean. Sorry, wrong Dean. Right,
so
Dean?
You can't. Okay, sorry, here's what we're going to do. Here's, gentlemen, Dean, I want you to be in charge of this because it's to your benefit. As of the next podcast, I want a miniature version of your 40, the 45-gallon drum that you keep with all the names that you put in there, the people who are asking. Okay, I want a miniature version of that. It could actually be a beer can with the top cut off.
The koozie a fishing can, and a koozie
in a koozie, sitting right here. And every time Mr. Bowman does not address the right Dean Taylor, he's going to put a quarter in. And I want to hear the quarter dropping. I was going to say
sound effect.
Who gets it?
You.
Oh, okay.
That's why I want you to be motivated with this. You see, well, we'll split it. How's that? You got to give me a. You got to give me a taste. You got to give me a taste. I come up with the idea.
Oh, he gave you 25%. He just gave you 25 points out of that whole thing.
That's more than tax. That's
I'm the one
good.
who. First of all, I'm the one who thought of it. Secondly, I'm the one who is.
I'm coming in that first day. I'm going to do it once and once only. I'm going to put one quarter in there. You guys, you assholes, have to split it. 75-25. That's going to be the best.
While you are visiting fishingcanada.com, the gateway, the portal to your next fishing adventure, why don't you take the time and have a look at some of the podcast network highlights that we have listed all over there. Yes, Outdoor Journal Radio podcast is a network.
Come on now.
And within that network, one of the programs is called Under the Canopy. That's one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, I love Jer.
Right,
Love
right
him.
there.
Absolutely. The big chaganaut right there.
A chaganaut.
Chaganaut.
Wow, that's
Like
a
an
cool word, a
astronaut.
chaganaut.
Chaganaut. Yeah.
A chaganaut. Anyways, you can check out episode 54, Natural Pet Treats and Dog Food.
Yeah, apparently there's some bad stuff out there when you're feeding your pets, like the processed stuff. As well as like human food. You're going to eat bologna, you're going to have a bit of a problem. If you eat a lot of that stuff in your life, live off of it.
I told you my only dog ownership as a child was a little beagle called Jippy. Jippy.
Okay.
Jippy.
Jippy.
And all Jippy ate
you told me
was Italian food.
Yeah.
It wasn't leftover. No, it wasn't leftover. It was specifically my mom.
Cut a piece of lasagna and give it to Jippy.
Whatever we had every day, she would make an extra portion for Jippy. It didn't matter whether it was lasagna, spaghetti, linguine, rigatoni, ziti. It didn't matter. Jippy got his own plate.
Did he like eggplant?
Eggplant, meatballs. You know those wonderful veal cutlets, handmade?
No.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And so this
And
dog.
the beagles, they're little pigs too. They'll eat anything.
He would eat so much that because he got short little legs, his belly would be dragging on the ground most of the time.
Like a basset hound almost.
Like a basset hound.
No way.
Yeah. He was.
How old did he live? Eating
I don't know
that?
because we had to give him up because Mom got tired of the thing pissing all over the place. It developed this thing.
Oh
Maybe
my God.
Now that I think of it. See,
Oh my
I'm
God.
thinking back.
Poor
We
Jippy.
were just kids, right? We were just kids, and my parents were new to pet ownership because I can't think of one time. I mean, I'm sure we did. I got to talk to Reno about this, but I can't think of one time where anybody actually took the dog out for the purpose of relieving itself.
What?
No, I'm
You
serious.
didn't train it to go take a
I
piece
don't
or
think
anything?
so.
Wow.
I could be wrong. Maybe they did, and I didn't notice. I don't know. But anyways, this dog developed the habit of peeing everywhere, and my mother got
And
tired
it's
of
so
it.
easy to easy to train. Like I can literally make my dog pee. Like he's walking on the backyard or in the yard or whatever. I say, take a pee. Take a pee. I might take 2 or 3 times. He'll take a pee.
No.
If he's got piss in him, he'll take a pee. Yeah.
No way.
I swear to God.
He understands pee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But because I ingrained that into him, so that when now he's in the house, and I want to put him out before bed, go out and take a pee. And he goes out.
What do you mean
and takes
go
a pee.
out? He's got his own lock.
No,
you
I
can
open the
unlock
door for him.
Oh,
and let him out.
You don't even go out.
No. What do you go? What do you have to go out for? You can see him out the glass door if you had to. He's 11. He knows how to take a pee now. Trust me. He's taken about 6,242,000 of them. So you can take.
How about a crap?
No,
How about if he has to-
I haven't got to take a shit. I always say, hold that in, you son of a bitch. Don't shit in my yard. Go next door. No, I don't.
So what if
So that
somebody?
was-
So what if you inadvertently say pee
No, he won't.
in the house?
No, he wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't do it.
No, he knows.
Anyways,
He knows.
poor Jippy didn't know the difference between peeing and eating, so he would just eat and pee. And so Mom decided that was enough. He had to go. I think he was like a year and a half, maybe old.
Right.
Anyways, the moral of the story, the reason I tell the story, because we gave him back to the original breeder who bred and raised champion beagles. That's what he did for a living, right?
Yeah,
he was a friend of Dad's, worked with him. And anyway, so they took Jippy back to the breeder. Said, hey, listen, it's just not working out. And the breeder, probably said, oh, well, that's too bad. Yeah, sure, come on in. Anyways, I guess a couple of weeks later, he said to Dad, what the hell did you do to that dog?
It was the wife.
Why? He won't eat anything.
Oh, my God.
I can't get him to eat. What did you feed him? So Dad told him.
Well, he must have saw that when he looked at the dog to begin with.
He was obese.
He must have said, oh, my God.
He was obese. But he just thought it was lack of training. You're not running the dog.
Yeah.
He had no idea that dog was eating ossobuco every week. He was eating like all of this wonderful stuff that we had, right?
That's awesome.
He was eating it all.
He's living the life, eh? That's what this podcast Jerry's is talking about. Obviously, dog food. So this is an exception to the rule. The Jippy was an exception to the rule. Most kibbles, like if you buy that big giant bag for $30-$40, you're buying shit. It's not good.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, it's bad as a rule. Yeah. So
Kibble itself, the brand?
Oh, no. Well, I don't think there's a brand called Kibble. Kibble is the type of food, the little nuggets of food, right?
Okay.
So the Kibble is the type of food. So you get different brands. I'm not going to say any brands because I don't want to call anybody out if I don't know, but I've heard a lot about. So we buy, our big bag of dog food costs $100 and something bucks, $100. And we looked into it. It seems to be at least one of the betters of the kibbles. Now, a lot of people are actually feeding their dogs raw meat now, right? It's a raw diet, sort of thing like that. Expensive as hell, but apparently very healthy for them.
Well, no kidding.
I met a girl that had a Great Dane she was feeding raw to every day, and it was like $20, $30, $40 a day to feed this dog.
Wow.
Yeah. Because he's so big and he eats so much, right? So,
wow.
Maybe
we should start feeding Nick kibbles. Get him off of that.
We'll get him the high-end
rich
kibble.
food. Yeah. You start giving him
I'll
kibbles.
bet you $100. I'll bet you that quarter I drop in the next quarter I drop in there. That if you fed Nick that good kibble that I give my dog over the shit that he eats right now, he would be healthier.
Oh, for sure.
He would be.
Oh, for sure.
I guarantee you. You had an apple today. Way to go, Nick. Washing it down with what's that right there? Friggin' Tim Horton singing me jiggy there or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Look at.
Anyways, check it all out. It's on fishingcanada.com. Podcast Network highlights the Under the Canopy is the show. Episode 54 if you want to find out what's good and healthy for your dog.
Yeah.
And speaking of pets.
A little
segue there.
Sail is your home for all hunting dog accessories, including GPS collars, dog harnesses.
Who is?
Sail, S-A-I-L.
That's a mouthful there.
Yes,
Sail.
sir. Training toys and much more. I did again, I'll go back to my dogs. I took a course many, many years ago on training Labrador retrievers, basically, for hunting, for retrieving, and all that stuff.
Wow.
And it's because you're seeing the collars here. I never used the GPS collars and that, but the dog harnesses, the training toys, all of the dummies, the guns, the fake guns.
GPS collar. What a great idea that is.
Great idea. Think about that.
How long have they been out?
You can't lose your dog on that one. I don't know how long you've been out, but it's brilliant.
So you can never lose them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a tracker, right?
What a great idea.
They also have, obviously, they use shock collars, and everybody uses that kind of stuff, and there's controversy about all that. I don't know if Sail sells that stuff or not, but there's all kinds of equipment that you use. Like they have those guns that shoot, so you have a blank gun that makes the sound of the shot, right? Because when you're with a dog, he's beside you, you shoot out, and it's
you want to
get him
used to
all that. Well, now they got the dummy shooters. It shoots in a pistol, and it shoots the dummy out there. Like that. There's all kinds of stuff.
An
like
actual.
Like that thing they retrieve.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's
boom, boom. And sometimes they do it out in the field. But anyway, Sail's they got a great section. I've looked at it before. They got a great section of supply.
Outstanding hunting. That whole top floor.
It's
the
great,
Sail
isn't
stores
it? The whole right side,
hunting,
it's fantastic. So.
Anyways, head on over to your Sail store in your area. Or better yet, if you don't have one in your community, go to sail.ca and bookmark that URL, sail.ca, and shop, receive up to 60% off on selected items. I was in there, like you just said the other day, on their website, and they got some Pretty interesting stuff on sale.
Yeah,
I'll
the
tell you
whole
that
clearance.
right
You go to that little clearance section,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like, oh my God, every category has sales on, right? Sales at sale.
now. Sales at sale.
There you go.
There you go. In the news, Mr. Bowman, what do we got? This is a fascinating story.
I'm mixed on this story, and I'll get into it a little bit. The largemouth bass, a coveted catch for anglers across Florida's rivers and lakes, will now be known as Florida bass. So let's start it out. There's two categories of bass, probably worldwide, of this largemouthy.
We're not talking
looking bass.
strains.
Right, okay, but you are in a way.
Well,
because it gets further on down here.
yeah.
It gets further on because there's really only two bass that I know of. There's the Florida strain largemouth and the northern strain largemouth. I think that's the only two largemouth bass in the world, maybe. You know what I mean?
Now you're going to
Maybe
get
North
confusion
America.
because black bass has been,
I think-
largemouth bass has been called black bass.
I know, but and there's also people that call largemouth bass green bass and smallmouth black bass.
There you
that's
go.
confusing in that part. And
Okay.
but they're nicknames, I believe. I don't
Okay,
think there's
so
anything
that's got
real
nothing to do with the
that.
strain.
No, I don't think so. So anyways, what's happening now is they want to change the Florida bass to so the original largemouth bass scientific name was Micropterus selmoides.
That's
all
all
of them. That's
largemouth
Florida
bass.
strain, northern
Everything.
strain, all of them. There's look at Roly Poly with his giant Florida strain.
Ouch.
You know, oh, do I love that? That's a great picture. My God. So, but what they want to do now is they want to make them a distinct species, but they're putting the Florida bass as the Micropterus selmoides, and I don't know why they're doing that because I would think Florida bass is very specific versus the northern strain or the rest of the world of bass.
No, the largemouth. Oh, the regular largemouth.
The regular largemouth is not going to be considered Micropterus nigricans. So they're making that name for some reason. They're changing the name of the largemouth bass, and they're not changing it of the Florida bass.
So they're two distinct.
Yeah, they're making it
Species.
two distinct species now. Yeah, and they've done that before. The scientific world is weird because they've changed the name of the scientific name of the walleye years ago.
Right.
They've changed it of the rainbow trout years ago, and I don't know. There's obviously science to this, but they're
Well, I can understand maybe renaming something that would.
they have to have a good reason. Otherwise, why? I mean, why would you
But
do
in
that?
this
right?
case, it's not just renaming; it's
rebranding
dividing.
it. Yeah.
It's dividing.
Yeah.
A strain in two separate pieces. I don't get that.
Yeah,
at
I
all.
don't know. There's got to be. I mean, science always has a reason.
So
right?
basically, the southern strain is now the Florida bass, and the northern strain is just largemouth bass. Basically,
which it always has been.
It always
right?
has been, yeah.
Like when you think about it, a northern strain, anything but a Florida bass is a largemouth bass. Really, it could be northern strain, could be down maybe halfway down the states or whatever. I don't know if there's a segregation of latitude or longitude or whatever. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they changed that. For maybe we could look a little bit more into it or whatever. But there's definitely been a shift in the largemouth world. So.
and those bass that we'll be hopefully catching in a few weeks down in the eastern part of Canada will be largemouth bass.
Largemouth bass, correct. Largemouth only. They will be of northern strain, even though a lot of them came from Maine, the state of Maine, which is the U.S. They're thinking, oh, maybe there's southern bass. No, they're not. They're all northern strain.
So what happens if you take the Florida bass
Yes,
and
and mix it.
relocate it?
Oh,
Relocate it into a northern.
probably get
let's say-
charged. You probably get charged.
Well,
no, they can only go so far north, and then they won't survive. Apparently, so. From but there's also the X strain, which is a Florida strain crossed with a northern strain, and they're doing quite well. And they're big. They get both traits. They get big like that. The northern strain, good strong fish, live longer. Northern strain largemouth bass live a lot longer, I think, than these guys. I believe they do. The Florida strains. So don't get as big, obviously, right? I think the world record non-Florida strain is. I don't even know what that is, but I know the Florida strain is 22.4.
You're just a wealth of knowledge.
So-
It just amazes me week in and week out just how much knowledge you've been able to cram into that small cranium.
I love the
of
largemouth
yours.
bass. I just think it's such a neat subject. I've always, from day one when I started fishing them, I just said, this is such a cool fish. I want to learn a little more about it. I just got to learn how to catch them now.
And for more largemouth bass
Thank you, Dean, there in the monitor.
information- Did you point at him in the wrong place?
Dean, what did I do?
Oh, he's busy.
See?
You can get all that on fishingcanada.com. We have news stories going up every day. This is just one of them. And by the way, we're just condensing this story. Go to the actual story itself.
Yeah.
You'll be fascinated with the.
They also say one more thing. I'm going to go on to this. The two fish species visually look the same and are indistinguishable to the naked eye. That's not true.
Oh,
Because
do tell.
Because when you see a perfect Florida strain largemouth, let's say they're both 6 pounds, 7 pounds. You see a perfect Florida strain largemouth, and you put it against right beside a northern strain largemouth of the exact same size. Usually, there's a difference in bulk.
So
there is difference in bulk.
whoever wrote this,
They can be the same. So they're
whoever
not
wrote
wrong.
this,
They're not wrong.
is an idiot, is what you're saying.
They're not wrong. Well, did Dean write it, or did
I'm just saying. I don't know.
Scientists wrote it. Not
Scientists wrote it.
Whoever wrote it is an idiot.
I am calling that scientist out to say that it's not always the case, because there are times where you can definitely tell the difference. That Florida strain right there, you can see that's very much northern strain looking-ish. But look at the shape of that fish. It's not like our bass, really.
Long and thin.
But the Florida strain can be a lighter color. They have bigger blotches on that lateral markings, not the lateral line. Those lateral markings. Our guys are dark green. They're more compact. There is a difference in some of them.
And you know this because?
Because I'm me.
Oh.
You were just telling me I have such a wealth of knowledge.
Fan question of the week, Mr. Bowman.
Yes, brought to us by...
Seeing as you're a wealth of knowledge.
Brought to us by fishfindermounts.com. Don't forget that.
That's right, baby.
Don't forget that.
No, don't you forget it. I'm not going to forget it. Fishfindermounts.com. If you are not familiar with them, they are the company that manufactures apparatuses to either hold your electronics to your boat or hold the transducers for your electronics to the boat, regardless of what boat you have and regardless how big or small that boat is.
They got it all.
They got it all.
They do.
In fact, we've used some of their products to mount transducers onto big pontoon boats.
Yeah.
We've used their products to mount transducers and fish finders onto little tin boats in outback lakes. You could.
We got two boats right in that room
big,
behind us there that
boats,
are rigged right up with them.
Yeah, just regular boats.
So.
It doesn't matter. If you have a need to mount anything in terms of electronics on your boat, fishfindermounts.com is the place to go.
Excellent stuff. Excellent to work with. They're just a great company. So, question by Kevin Bryant from Ontario, again via email, and that's info@fishingcanada.com. If you want, you can do Facebook or Instagram as well. What are some baits / lures that you have used that may be considered unusual, weird, or outside of the box, so to speak? From Kevin.
Well, for me, it's easy. I think.
I knew you'd have something because just to let everybody know, Angelo is not afraid to experiment in the boat.
No.
Beyond ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah.
But just to let you know, he's the man for that. So go ahead. What do you got?
For me, I'm going to go back to our little mouse, Mo. Unusual in every sense of the word, and still a dream that one day we'll be able to bring it to the public and be able to put it on store shelves. Yeah, before we go hang up our rods or whatever they say. We keep trying, but that would be the most unusual because it has real fur. The tail, undulates like nothing I've ever seen. I think the closest thing that would ever come to the action of that tail would be a hand-tied fly streamer, in the current or something like that.
Right.
That would be probably the most unusual.
It's hard. We've fished for so many years. It's hard to say what we've come across or tried or made or built. Right. I don't know if we've never really built a bait, but I'm sure we've molded some plastic together with lighters and stuff like that. To get melt that kind
especially
of stuff.
on the St. Lawrence.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we've done so much
crazy.
experimenting.
The Carolina rig, that stuff that looks like something totally ridiculous out there. The one that I've never used, but I'll tell you what, this is one that everybody's going to be surprised with, and it's 100% illegal that I know of.
Oh,
but
nice.
It was used by people. Let's just say it was used by some people that were. That needed a tip at the end of a fishing trip. So obviously guides, right? Let's say guides.
Needed a tip.
They didn't produce that big lake trout that they needed to. So the last day, they said, okay, this is what we use for some clients if they want. because they want to get a 40-pound Laker, and I'm going to get a great tip out of this. And they used what's called what I saw as a grayling harness. And it was this little cage. It looked like this microphone thing going around. It was a cage that they put a grayling in, a live or dead grayling in, and it had all kinds of hooks on the back of it, and they drag it out behind the boat.
What?
I'm not shitting you. I saw this with my own eyes. I didn't see it in action, but they showed me this thing. It was all, and it was the most bizarre looking. It looked like a torture device. It had so much steel. I think Reno was with me, maybe. Maybe Reno will remember.
I've never seen that.
It was the most bizarre, and it had, I'll bet you it had 8 hooks on it. I'll bet you. All over the place. Like if a raker comes anywhere near this greasy grayling, he's going to kill it. He's going to eat it. You know what I mean? So,
wow.
But I'm sure it's not even using it. But this was 30, 40 years ago, sort of thing like that. So a grayling harness, yeah. It was bizarre. Now that's a bizarre thing that weird or whatever you want to call outside of the box. Totally illegal, 100% illegal. I'm sure it is. I can't see why it would be legal, right? So just using grayling alone would be illegal, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
For sure.
But anyways, that's one I've seen. So there you go. We interrupt this program to bring you the much anticipated bonus code for the latest Fishing Canada giveaways. This week's code is DANCE. That's all capitals DANCE. DANCE. Just type that in the bonus code section of the contest and receive 100 free entries towards all of our current giveaways. For those of you who aren't entered yet, what are you waiting for? Head over to fishingcanada.com while you listen to the rest of this episode. Click Contests and sign up for all the latest Fishing Canada giveaways. And now, back to the episode.
All right, let's go to the Far East, at least the eastern part of Canada. Our good friend Jeff Wilson is on the show with us, co-founder and host of the Miramichi Striper Cup.
Striper Cup, yep.
Stripered. There's a new
Stripered.
Right? Yeah.
Stripered bass.
And tournament angler extraordinaire, and now going to be the MC of the big black bass competition.
Come on, is he?
Up. Hey, Jeff.
No way.
Hey, good morning, boys. How are you?
Good. How about you, brother?
Boy,
Sitting around growing moss.
Yeah,
moss all over me.
I don't think so. You are on the move, buddy. You are wheeling and dealing. I'm seeing you everywhere. Like, what's going on? Are you? Have you? I know what. You just turned 40, didn't you? That's got to be it. This is your 40-year itch. So you've taken on the big job of emceeing the international event that's coming down in your neck of the woods here in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, first of all. That's exciting. We're going to be there, by the way. We're going to be right beside you. You know
well, that's great. The Pan Americans are coming here for the 25th to 29th of September. And the boys gave me a call a number of months ago to ask me to get involved. And certainly with New Brunswick hosting this type of event, I was more than happy to jump in and support the, development of our fishery here in the province, for sure. As you guys know, and we've talked about that many times, right?
Jeff, explain what the Pan Am is to our audience.
So it's the
please.
Pan American Black Bass Championship. So I think we have 10 countries coming to here to Fredericton with teams of up to 6 to 8 boats. We have some local boats too, going to help out with ferrying some of those guys around. And so it's the international event. We got some great names coming. Oh my gosh. Team Canada with Bob Azumi, he's the captain. I remember I was wearing diapers watching him because I'm only 40, as you mentioned.
As you mentioned, that's right.
Right? These are big names, and Coop Gallant and Gussie, Jeff Gufferson, the 2023 Bassmaster Classic champion.
Yeah.
And we also have the latest champion, Justin Hammer's also coming.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So he's on Team USA.
US team, yeah.
Yeah. So
who else is on Team USA? They got a pretty stacked team.
Scott Martin, Jacob Wheeler.
Yeah.
Some guys you might never heard of.
You had some hammers there for sure. They'd be hard to beat for sure.
And so, being Maritimers, and they told me what was going to happen, I said, well, man, we got to really show our flavors here in the Maritimes when this is happening. So when they asked me to MC and help out, I did. And I'm looking forward to just doing the very best we possibly can and welcome people from around the world to our little spot in New Brunswick.
I think, you know what, I think the location, the people are going to be perfect for it. I mean, the as Ange and I have always said, the East Coast people, the flavor of East Coast, everything is just, it's such a welcoming place to go, right? So anybody that has never been there before, so these Pan Ams, I'm assuming is it South America as well? Is it? Yeah. Yep. So they're gonna have a treat when they're gonna be, and Ange and I have we tested the fishery too, and the smallmouth fishery, and it's insane. So they're gonna have some fun.
It's going to be nuts. Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
It should be crazy.
I'll tell you, you know, what I'm excited about, though, is, and I know it's still kind of in the shadows, I'm excited about the possibility of unveiling largemouth bass from New Brunswick to the rest of the world. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because it's not clear yet whether these superstar anglers will be able to weigh in largemouth bass because of a bit of a quirkiness that I want to talk to you about next. But I really think with that kind of intelligent fishing pressure that's going to be down in your neck of the woods, I really think it's the time to let largemouth just blossom, baby. I think it's going to be outstanding. And we'll hopefully know just before the event whether these guys can go largemouth bass fishing or not. Yeah. But if they do, I'm predicting there's going to be some incredibly large fish weighed in. Incredibly large. So, so take us through this whole issue that we've got right now with largemouth in New Brunswick.
Well, I mean, the largemouth have been here for over 25 years, but they've been paid attention to by our scientists since probably about 2012, I think, was the first time that they actually documented any largemouth here. And of course, it's always the Bass Brigade that's moving them around, but really it was the floods in Quebec that brought them down back even when the muskies came. That's how the muskies got down the river, the same sort of thing.
But let's make something perfectly clear, okay? There is nothing concrete that points to either one of those theories, right?
Absolutely.
These are all speculations where we're saying, yeah, it's not me, it's you, and all that
Absolutely.
stuff. We really don't know how it happened.
Well, we do know, like, the Muskeg there at the top of the Woodstock runs over to Maine, and Maine is full of largemouth. I mean, there's a ton of natural opportunities for the migration of fish, ducks, feet, all these kinds of things happen, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, they've been around, so they've done some studies, and now they know where they are, basically, some spots. So our proposal was, look, you're going to have some of the best anglers. We're going to do a creel study every day. If we get a largemouth anytime, we're going to mark where it is. So now we got like 50 of the best anglers in the world are going to tell you in 3 days exactly where the largemouth are in this river. If we bring them back to Nakawik, we're going to segregate them, and we're going to be returning them to exactly the locations where they were taken. We know that the largemouth are mostly in arms and bays, and we kind of have a pretty good idea where they are. So that's the plan. We proposed that. The province has been excellent to deal with. They're open for collaboration, and they understand some of the benefits of that real-time creel study that we absolutely don't have. And so that's really important. So I think we laid out a pretty good argument, and they were very receptive. So
is the province the DFO, or is it the province like your MNR or whatever your equivalent?
Well, it's our DNR. It's the provincial regulations.
Right. What's the DFOs? Do they say anything about this at all? I mean, it's inland and all that, so I don't know.
Well, down here we have like a maritime fisheries agreement, so it's kind of co-managed in that area, and it kind of, to be honest with you, the largemouth don't kind of exist here, so there's no regulation relative to largemouth.
Right.
So in theory, we could probably do whatever we wanted, like because there's no regulations. You're not breaking anything if somebody takes largemouth. But that's not how bass anglers and tournament organizers operate.
Right.
We operate with the utmost conservation in mind. So we want. Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. One of the positive notes of the negative aspect of largemouth bass fishing, it's taken the pressure off of muskie a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because up until now, muskie has been the invasive species of choice that every salmon aficionado has been using as their whipping fish, right?
I'll tell you what,
But-
between striped bass, muskie, smallmouth, and now largemouth, they're all getting the shit kicked out of them. They're all like picked on, like
It's
bullied,
unbelievable.
Like
It's-
bullied
Oh, yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and I certainly don't mean to, belittle anybody who is carrying the Atlantic salmon flag, up the Miramichi and beyond. I that's fantastic and everything else, but man, they're just looking for the next big thing to say that's what's causing our problem, instead of saying, "Hey, it happened. It for whatever reason." If science tells us that it's either cyclical or climate related, then let's embrace the new wave of sport fishing. Let's embrace the new source of tourism dollars to our community, instead of poo-pooing all of these wonderful game fish that you guys, by the way, that you're blessed with. The rest of us are envious, right?
You know what? I just
Okay.
I got thinking the way you're talking there, Ann. Sorry, Jeff, just for a second. And I would say if you role reversed it, so if the Atlantic salmon did work well in Lake Ontario, we would embrace that. I'm just saying. Let's just say it flourished.
Yeah.
You'd have everybody out there after Atlantics.
Of
They
course
say, bring
you
them on. Let's
bring 'em
go.
on. Bring
This
more
is
in.
great.
Right.
So it's kind of you got to open up a little bit. So
Well, you guys have heard what they've proposed for the striped bass.
Oh, my God.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's like, I'm just a believer in science. I'm not the scientist. I know some really good ones, and 99% of them are so ethical. It's incredible. And that's our approach with the largemouth. Okay, how can we help you? You're never going to get rid of the largemouth. Yeah, if it's about education and moving them around, well, then let's talk about that. But first of all, let's identify everywhere they are, and then at least you can now manage to that. So that, and then they're attacking that. We got zebra mussels now in the river. So we just met this morning, one of 100 meetings for the Pan American Games. We met with the decontamination DFO group. We had 15 people on a Teams meeting so all the boats coming in from outside of Canada or outside of New Brunswick will be decontaminated as soon as they get here. We're going to have decontamination site on for all the boats coming in and out. I know you guys have reached out with DFO Decontam guys for when you show up from Ontario. So that
we're getting both boats done, and Nick. We're going to get all three of them decontaminated.
Yeah.
And then we get a little bit extra time set up for Nick. But other than
might take a longer quarantine period for him.
Yeah. I don't know if they have hot water, but perhaps that would work.
Perhaps.
Sorry, guys.
It's an exciting time, I think, for the province of New Brunswick. I think we're going to get over all of this controversy, all of this negative press that these game fish are getting. I just think you guys are on the verge of an explosion in sport fishing, in the sport fishing community, because at the end of the day, when you really look at it, it's relatively close to a big number of people, both U.S. and Canada. Mm-hmm. And the opportunity to fish for all of these wonderful game fish in an environment that most of us are not even used to having. The pristine, beautiful, green, like all of that wonderful stuff that goes along with this. I just think you guys are on the verge, on the absolute verge.
I was on the water yesterday. Okay, so I had to go out for a bit, and I don't know, maybe got 65 or 70 smallies, but I was off the water by 12:30, and just doing a bit of pre-fishing. And we were doing the Nakawik down to the dam, and I don't know if you could, for years, guys, 80 mile an hour up the head pond, up to Heartland and Woodstock. Right. You guys were there. We were
there.
So we have an event where you're not allowed to go past Nakawik. So forcing the boats in, and I was there yesterday and had a great, you know how many bass we must pass?
Exactly. We said that. Angela and I said that when we were there last time. All that good looking stuff along the shore, and then every little hump and bump you see under the water, it's loaded.
I was shocked yesterday. I was shocked.
Really?
Even the weeds were just the minnows, all a perfect Seiko size.
No kidding.
Millions of them. And I'm like, the bass, you don't have a chance. I don't know. I caught one. He spit up a crayfish. The other one had, some grape bomb mustard on a nice perch.
That's right too. You guys are also coincidentally experiencing an explosion in the crayfish population. You have 2 different types of crayfish now that are prevalent in your waterways, which may be the underlying science that's leading to the growth of the bass population. Let's be honest about it, right?
Well, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I fished for years in the Mactaquac area down in that end of the thing. You wouldn't, I'd hardly ever see a crayfish spit up. I probably saw 20 yesterday.
See?
Wow.
And up in Perth Andover, the river's reservoir, right? So you're talking the lower river, Mactaquac, then up in above Beechwood, you go up to Perth, and then you go up to Grand Falls.
Right.
And Grand Falls, guys were up last week. Boys were pulling 5-pounders up in Grand Falls.
No way.
And they said it was just incredible. And I've been up that way. And buddy Tyler, what's his name from Maine, the elite angler, Tyler
Rivet.
No, yeah, I don't know. The guy from Maine, anyway. He's coming.
Oh, okay.
And he got a 7.5 pounder up there. He said he weighed in.
What?
So
smallmouth.
Yeah.
Oh my
Holy
God.
smokes.
Well, that's just a continuation of the St. John River.
Right.
So those crayfish have been moving south. It just seems like. And as they do, the fish are. I think the diets are better, and they're
it's not a coincidence. We experience a similar situation here with the invasion of the gobies in the St. Lawrence and Great Lakes, et cetera, and our smallmouth have just exploded.
Fat.
I mean, they're huge.
Fatty.
Yeah, watching the elites on St. Lawrence is like, okay, you only get 19 pounds.
Bye-bye. 22 pounds, something like that. You're still not done it.
Oh, I know. It's incredible.
I'll tell you one thing I noticed. Remember when I went up to the Muskie Challenge, that Muskie tournament that they did there? Mm-hmm. So we had the camera boat, and we pulled in the shoreline to take a leak. So somebody in the boat didn't want to pee up in the middle of the lake or whatever. Okay,
I wasn't there, so I can't be blamed for that one. All right.
So pull into the shoreline, take the pee. Maybe we did lunch too there. I'm not sure. But my point is, I've never seen more minnows in my life that were running the bank. Yeah. Like they were either minnows or maybe what do you call it?
Gaspro.
Gaspro, maybe.
Alewives, the baby.
Alewives, maybe. They were about that biggish, 3-4 inches. But it was a constant parade of bait fish going by, probably a 5-foot wide school for the whole time we had lunch. That was like 20 minutes we were there. And it was just, we put the camera down and watched, and there was like literally millions what we saw. And that's one section of the shoreline.
And that's
how much bait
is
is that?
It's happening
Constantly.
We ran into the same thing when we were muskie. Steve and I were muskie fishing down there a few years ago. Same thing happened. We saw this incredible. They looked like oil slicks.
Yeah,
it was just massive black oil slicks of bait. Moving up the river.
The protein these fish have to eat is just
and that's
endless.
why I say, like, you guys are on the verge of an explosion because unlike the rest of the country and maybe the continent, the source of protein and nourishment that these fish have, the freshwater fish, because of the connection to the ocean, is unbelievable. And it's not just one item on the menu. Like, the beauty of your stripers, for example, I mean, they've got an open menu. It's like a buffet for them of various types of protein and nutrients that they can consume. And that's why they get so big and they're so tough and there's so many of them.
Well, and that's the problem, that for years, Mactaquac, they weren't trucking those fish up and over. They've recently tried to increase that, and people are paying attention to the nutrient source of the river. I mean, we had, in the Miramichi, we had unlimited rainbow trout smelt fishery, unlimited quotas. As much as you can catch, you can sell for lobster bait, and it's almost wiped out now. Oh, wow. And they go, that's why the commercial fishery has to be in tune with the freshwater fishery, so that we have that nutrient source going into the river. Mm-hmm. And that's a big reason we've lost a lot of Atlantic salmon across Atlantic Canada, is that we just don't have those. We've taken all the lobster bait and it's killed all the smoke screen for the salmon par.
Yeah, Speaking of which, maybe this would be a good time to transition and segue into, you just briefly mentioned it earlier on about the new striped bass regulations that are in place now. Is it official, by the way?
Well, it's been announced, but they have to go to a stakeholders thing in January. They have to, they just can't go ahead. Normally, they have to talk to me about it, and that's why it's not there yet. They've started already keeping the striped bass for lobster bait in lobster traps as an experimental pilot, which is, to take a $20 a pound fish and use it as lobster bait is certainly a way for people that don't know how to value add anything.
Is it legal for somebody, say on the Miramichi, anywhere, any community, a restaurateur, for example, is it legal for him to obtain a striped bass, either angling for it or through some, commercial enterprise, somehow put striped bass on his menu and feed it to his customers? Is it legal today?
I think as long as it's legally attained. I mean,
what's legally attained? So say Jeff Wilson.
They're angle for them, but the First Nations fisheries has been going on for probably 4 or 5 years now, where they're allowed to get 50,000 fish. Okay. And so they've been unable to even sell those, and now they've upped that to 175,000 fish.
That's the point I'm trying to make, okay? Because one of the things that we still find surprising, whenever we come down to your neck of the woods, we come full of anticipation of enjoying some great seafood meals at any little roadside cafe, restaurant, truck stop, any place where there's food brewing. We expect it to be seafood.
And look forward to it, right? That's our part of our trip.
And it's not there.
It's much easier to get a steak. Let's just say that. Hard to get steak.
And in particular, stripers. I see it as a staple. Even like fish and chips. My opinion, fish and chips in New Brunswick should be illegal. It should be illegal if it's not striped bass.
That should be. That would be so good. Imagine fish and chips with striper. Oh my God.
It is good.
Yeah.
So why not? Why isn't it happening?
I did speak to both the folks that have the commercial license and a number of restaurants, and having the folks that have the commercial license have no interest in processing the fish, and then. So for them, it's just get rid of it. One fell swoop. I get my very low return, but it's only 2 days of fishing. I filled my nets. I'm good. And
that's for the bait, and that's to sell it as bait for lobster.
Whatever, just get rid of it. And then at the restaurants, they tried. They actually wanted the access, like the rods where you were, and we had some great meals of striped bass. And I don't know if you remember meeting Jim, the previous GM, and his problem was to have a supply. Right. So
right in his backyard, right out his window, there's a supply, and he can't do it.
He'd have to go outside, just hang a line out his window.
It's true. You could.
Yeah, but he's not the fisherman, but he needed that supply to put it on the menu.
Yeah.
To be, of course. And as you know, they can do a great job at cooking those things up because we enjoyed it.
Oh my God, it was so good. It was so good.
So what's it going to take to change that?
Well, first off, Jeff, what's your... I'm going to ask you a quick question between that, and then you go to that. What is your thoughts on the odds of this going through? Is it, like everybody out there, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Is there any...
I don't know if you remember this last January. I warned this was coming.
Yeah.
I brought it up. I tried to get people torqued up. We do have a petition signed now by almost 7,000 people that are against this, taking over half the school in 1 year. We have a number of professors and people that you've met that are very concerned about this move. We have started a new, Striped Bass Association. Our plan is to try and raise legal funds to sue DFO because they're doing this without the scientific backing, which means they should be liable for the damage to the boat dealers, the guides, the hotels, the gas people, and that sort of thing on the lost income over time. So, and as well, we will be able to go to the stakeholders meeting, which I've been on the Eastern Advisory Board for many years, and claim our case. But at the end of the day, if it was a scientific case, we wouldn't be having this conversation. This was a political decision, and which is the reason why it has to be really the best way is to file a lawsuit against them because they're going against their own science.
But to what end? I from a political standpoint, I'm not really getting clear why increasing, from 50,000 to 175,000 fish limits to a group that is really not even interested in getting the 50,000 fish caught.
Well,
what's the political benefit for this? I don't understand the motivation.
This is the Atlantic Salmon Federation lobby and the salmon
bingo
saying that if we get rid of the striped bass, more of our par, the last few that we haven't killed off, will get to the ocean. And so that's a Miramichi River situation, but there's many rivers in Atlantic Canada that have no salmon and have no stripers. So it's cause and effect, and there's no scientific proof that if we killed every striper that the salmon would come back.
No.
And so the political decision is that we had a precautionary approach to the management of striped bass. We had couple of meetings, got it all going, and basically the salmon lobby got it squashed. And we're able to bring in the commercial fishery folks as well as allies, because they want they want to have the lobster bait cheap and go after this, so that the salmon, it's all about the salmon. They don't want to talk about the gill nets and offshore trawlers and logging and all the other things. Mm-hmm. It's just a scapegoat and whatever it is. And the science is saying, we've seen this before. This happened in 1995, and we wiped them out in 1 year. And there were 175,000 fish, and the next year there was 13,000.
Wow.
So, I mean, the writing's on the wall here if this goes through. And the only thing we can hope for is a political change. It was a political decision. The Coswick report that everybody was working on wasn't even delivered to the minister before the decision was made. So the science wasn't even in her hands.
To make it clear, just so that we have it right, in 1995, a very similar, if not exactly the same, quota was put in place.
Yeah, the school size with the same kind of science that's used today. The school size was 175,000. And in 1996, it was 13,500, which resulted in the shutdown of
what caused it? What was the direct cause of that?
Commercial fishing, over harvesting.
We know that for a fact. That's science.
That's there. Yeah.
And so I'm assuming at some point somebody put their hand up and said, "Oh boy, sorry, it was me. I screwed up. All right, let's go back to."
No, I don't. You know what? To the Atlantic Salmon Federation, they're saying, "Yeah, we did good."
Okay, but somehow
somebody wanted that.
The bass came back though. The stripers came back. So, something must have happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a moratorium put in place, and they were adding the species at risk.
Right. So somebody
eradication of species at risk in 1 year.
So somebody said, okay, I was just kidding. Yeah. Let's go back and let's save this poor little striped bass from total annihilation. We were wrong. We screwed up. I'm a big man. I can admit that. So they did that, and then a moratorium was put on all fishing, whether it was commercial harvest or recreational.
Yeah, everything.
It was shut down for how long, Jeff?
We're 10 years at the Striper Cup, so I believe it opened maybe 3 years before the Striper Cup. The moratorium came off.
Okay, so
for a recreational harvest of one fish in the slot limit.
Right. So,
and then it went to 2, and it went to 3. And at the same time, we saw the decline of the striper population has been steady. It went to 4. Still steady, and then now they're saying let's pull another 175 out of her. It can take it. When DFO has no idea about the young of the year recruitment, what it looks like. We don't know if the models that we even used were proper, because we don't have the data on the young of the year recruitment. So if you're going to take half the school out in 1 year, you need to have huge amount of recruitment, right? To replace it.
Right.
And we have no data. The only data we do have is from the United States, which shows that the striped bass are in super trouble down there.
Yes, and we've heard that. We've heard that all along the eastern seaboard, for that matter.
Roanoke River,
Roanoke is a classic example how the populations have gone on a steep decline. But, rumor had it and I don't know whether it was science or not, but the word was that it was a climate change issue, and because waters were warming a degree or two, these fish started moving farther north up the eastern seaboard and abandoning their traditional Roanoke River spawning areas, etc., and made their way up to the Gulf, where they found cooler water and embraced Miramichi. But what you're telling me, that's all bullshit, because the population of fish that we have now, that gene pool was originally in the Miramichi. It just got annihilated in the 90s, and we gave it a breather and let it regain itself, and now it came back, and now we're going to spank it again. That's what you're saying. It's got nothing to do with the southern
We
fish.
got an email this morning. Dean read it to me, and it's exactly that. There's a biologist out east that said that is horse shit, that those fish are not coming from the Roanoke, and they're moving up like that. He says that's all bullshit.
Yeah, we have DNA to prove it. We take the DNA. You see us at the Striper Cup every year. 10 scientists there. I'm a believer in science. And when those guys tell me we can't do this, we can't do this. But here's my other question. Why aren't we shutting the salmon fishery down? Like we have a proven...
It's true. That's true. You want to bring them back.
You want to bring them back? I can show you what the success looks like for striped bass.
We
know it works.
That's a good
so
one.
let's put a moratorium on all the salmon fishing for 5 years.
Yeah.
Why not?
But they won't, because some issues relative to first access.
Issues relative to first access.
You can only, you have to shut the whole fishery down completely before you can stop the food and ceremonial fisheries. So,
okay, so why can't they shut it down completely like they did the stripers back in the mid-90s?
That's a great question.
But it seems so logical.
The argument from the Atlantic Salmon Federation, the New Brunswick Salmon Council, the Miramichi salmon folks, the salmon outfitter guides, is that they'll just get poached. And we need all those people on the river to fishing them so we know they're okay.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. So they carry around their 30-06 with them, and their handguns and knives and Bowie knives. So I'm going to take you out if you poach my fish. Okay.
Yeah. So, and listen, there would be a huge economic blow to a number of lodges, and certainly incredibly painful. And so, that's the reason, isn't it?
But are there that many? Seriously. I mean, we've been on the Miramichi long enough now to know the impact would maybe be felt by, I don't know, a dozen businesses that are...
I have some old economic studies from back 20 years ago where they say it's 60 million.
60 million?
Yeah. But
where the hell are they getting those numbers from?
And you got to remember, they quote Labrador and Newfoundland.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Because the Miramichi itself... No.
So DFO has a hard time doing anything that's river specific. It's always managed of a species. So, it just gets down to bureaucratic, and it's tough. We started this Southern Gulf group on Facebook, and we got a Striped Bass Association. We've got charters started in Miramichi, PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. We have some funds in the bank. We're going to write DFO and get seats on the table, the stakeholders meeting. I'm there now, so I'll present it. We want one from New Brunswick. We even have Quebec involved. There's 16,000 folks in Quebec. The Miramichi population affects PEI, Quebec, New Brunswick, Cape Breton. So people don't realize that the impact of this, if you're on Facebook, you see people in PEI catching striped bass at night. They're having a ball. The kids are out. Families are out. It's better for thousands of people. And we're going to say, let's give these two guys 175 of these for $100,000 and get rid of them. It's
you know what? That would make sense.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, we had somebody on the program last week, and I've been waiting to get you back on just to get this straight. The definition, because there's sections of the Miramichi that are fly fishing only, and I'm making an assumption that those areas have been kind of designated as the Atlantic salmon hot spots. So they don't want anybody in there with gear and hardware and all that stuff, right? I'm thinking. Yeah. Because first of all, the only way you can angle for Atlantic salmon is with the fly, correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, somebody told us last week that the definition, it pertains just to what's at the end of the line, meaning the fly. And that if I go there in those areas that are designated fly fishing only, I can take a big old spinning or bait casting outfit or whatever and tie a fly on the end of it, and I can have at it. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you can't have a weighted fly. So if you can throw a fly,
but a great big, I can certainly get one of those big streamers that we use for pike.
You're talking to the choir there. Like I mean, when you go above the Sunny Corner Bridge, for example, in the spring,
right?
If you want to take a streamer fly and put it on your casting outfit and kind of troll a little bit behind the boat and try and flip it a little bit, like you're within your rights. You're fly fishing.
What about a fly below a float? Can you use a float?
There's some specific rules, but that might be okay. But I told them to advocate like single barbless hooks as a way. The problem is that that's called the head of tide, like above the head of tide. And so that's where the debarkation zones, like you can go up there, it's fly fishing only, but here up there, Doyle's Brook, where I had you fellas, that brook comes out. That's the demarcation zone.
Is that, did you say that? Is it single barbless on the fly or no?
Yeah, single barbless on the fly.
It is, okay. As I thought they would.
So
I'm not sure about barbless, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So really, I mean, I'm not saying this should be the way to do it, but the way to clean all this misconception out with fly fishing, no fly fishing zones, you can drag one behind a boat, but you can't. It's just to go to a barbless single hook policy everywhere and call it a day.
Yeah, that's what I've advocated, particularly for both the St. John River, like when you go above the Heartland Bridge on July 1st, it changed fly fishing only. We'll just make it single barbless hooks so that the kids from Heartland to Florenceville can go down over the bank with mom and throw a spinning cast gear in there with not treble hooks, like a single barbless, like a fluke or Seiko, and catch fish and put them back.
Right.
Instead of trying to go down over the bank with a 10-weight fly rod and a freaking 2-liter tippet and freaking get mum down there untangling it in the tree.
Think about that. Think about what you just said. So this is really, this is an elitist group who are influencing the policymakers, saying, no, you can only fish the way we fish. Yeah. And if you want to fish for these fish in these areas.
Yeah.
That's really what it is, because you brought the point about mom and the kid. Why are we penalizing them from experiencing the wonderful opportunities on that river? Because that's what you're doing. You're penalizing.
On those UFO committees, I've taken this to them. I mean, they've had this protection matter in place for 25 years. So trying to get a committee of maritime fishery, rule makers to change a rule. But the biggest pushback was the First Nations. They said, no way, we got to protect these last 42 salmon that are going over the Mactaquac Dam. And so, like I said, look, I've been fishing up there for 40 years and I haven't caught a salmon yet. I don't think it's going to make that much difference. There's only 42 left. I said, the only other thing for us to do is go get those 42 and call it a day. Then what do you protect the men?
You see, it's talk like that makes you and me look like Neanderthals dragging our knuckles.
Good eating there, though, Jeff? There's some nice salmon burgers right there.
They're way better than bass, I can tell you that. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, we can have a regulation that works, and then you can have people on the river actually trying to protect those salmon. So we have a lot more in common, really, than apart. It's just sometimes there's a lack of communication and understanding, right?
First Nations, where do they sit in all of this in terms of the Atlantic salmon fishery? Well,
I mean, the Marshall decision back in the set the precedent that they have first access and a moderate food and moderate living.
But is it being monitored? Is there some kind of tool in place that
I'm sure they would say it's never public. It's always a privacy issue with GFO. They continue to harvest salmon on the Miramichi for their use and their first access right.
Right.
That is totally up to them. I'm not involved in that at all. I know it happens. It's happening in all the rivers.
Oh, we see it. We see the nets and all that.
And it's a real shame. I think really that here we are going to destroy the stripers, but yet we're trying to protect the salmon. But we're going to, let's harvest some too. Like I don't know. It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
Can they? First Nations, they got this right, and we should be working with them. We're at the Pan American. We got a First Nations team, and we got the First Nations coming to do the welcome on the Willow stuff. I tried to meet them to try and up the value add to the stripers that they were allowed. Right. My thought is if you have 40,000 stripers and you're the only place, that means you have a monopoly on the commercial availability of striped bass. I'm like, that's like a gift from God, right?
Right.
And so that was my approach to let's work through these things and see if we can. I mean, at the end of the day, they need to prosper and have revenue for their people and everything. And how do we make that happen? How do we help make that happen if it's possible at all? So we have way more things that we need to be doing, So I try and steer away from that as much. I'm not a federal politician, nor do I want to be one. But I can tell you that the Minister of Fisheries right now, I'm not too happy with that bird. That's for sure.
Wow. Yeah. Jeff, go back to that native thing. Is there any restrictions on how they obtain them, or can they spear them, net them, do whatever they want,
We see pictures, they can grade up below the bottom of the Mactaquac Dam and throw out a big hunk of worm and spinner and come through there, catch the stripers and muskies or whatever you want. That's their right.
So whatever they want to do, yeah. Okay.
It's their right. It's been decided by folks smarter than me. Mm-hmm. So,
it's not exclusive to New Brunswick. It's happening right across. And we have I will say plenty of friends that are from that community who don't believe in all of these freedoms and contradictions with the conservation tools that we have in place. Right, a lot of them don't want it. It's not. You can't even say it's the First Nations as a whole.
No,
it's not.
No,
but I mean that's like saying Canada as a whole, we're all liberal or conservative.
Right.
It's politics within their framework that they have the right to do, and that's their ballywag. Who am I to tell them they're right or wrong? I'm just here to, if in some way could help by value adding that great species and keeping, I just want everybody to get along and my kids to go fishing and everybody to enjoy it, which is all the same things that they want. So
right. Hey, Jeff, going back to largemouth now. Is there is there a lot of negative talk towards largemouth? Of the people that know, I know it's very under the, not a whole lot about it, but what's the negativity there? Or are they embrace it, bring them on?
This is strictly really a government-driven agenda. And a great fundraising method to get a lot of grants and money for universities and studies and figuring stuff out on the Mactaquac Head Pond, which is under a revitalization project on the dam that's worth $2 billion. And again, there's a ton of politics and what are we going to do with the fisheries? We're going to put a fish ladder up. We don't have a fish ladder there now, which is the reason we're in this situation. And so it's so political and
as you're saying these things, I can't help but think I'm seeing this child that all of a sudden is getting all kinds of toys and doesn't really know what to do with them yet because the child's not mature enough to really understand each one of the toys and how they work and because really when you think about it, New Brunswick has been so singular in sport fishing mentality that all of these new species that are now popping into your lap, and they're all so new that I think the politicians honestly don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know what to do with them. And so they're having meetings upon meetings about these new toys and saying, who knows how to, do you go vroom vroom? Do you throw this thing? And that's what's happening with you guys. You know,
Well, remember Mike Holland? You guys met Mike, who's
Yeah.
the previous
Yeah.
minister, and
he got
Mike
it. He got
Mike
it.
was,
Oh, he
Mike was
understood.
excellent, right? And saw the opportunities and said, "Look, let's manage for what we have here in the St. John River. Let's make it work." And they did a good job. But when you really get down to it, government is run by bureaucracy.
Exactly. Oh,
And
yeah.
so if you can't convince the deputy and the director of that department, you're not going anywhere. So that's the good thing with us at the Pan American. We had a meeting with the directors and the deputies, and Mike got it. Like, we finally get into the right people to have a conversation. And one of the comments that I did hear after the deputy met with Joe Ford was he'd never heard anybody really explain it to him like that. So they really kind of saw the
Got it.
economic potential, and that's why they're being very collaborative on us being to weigh in these largemouth, because I want Scott Martin, to his 2.4 million followers, to hold a 4-pound smallie and a 4-pound largie like that and
Yeah.
put it on his social media
Yeah.
and say, I caught 200 of these today. I only brought 6 of them in, you know, and so, you know, you folks are coming down to do some filming, and, you know, we got the Department of Tourism, we got the right people thinking that this is a great opportunity. And we are seeing a ton of guides getting involved, a ton of lodges looking at, you know, developing. Like, nobody's guiding for caribou. Whitetail are here. They were an invasive species as well.
Right.
Is largemouth invasive? Yes, because it didn't exist here before. Smallmouth are naturalized because we stocked them in the late 1800s. Stripers are natural. They've been here as long as salmon. So when the public's around, they hear bass, invasive. They're not like us, striper, smallmouth, black bass, Florida strain. No, they're just bass. And so
Right.
the politics is great talking points.
Yeah.
You know, and our politics is all about talking points and making sure you look good on TV, which is why I'm not in politics.
Some might say you should be, my friend.
Yeah, I think he should be.
On
Yeah.
that note, as usual, we've eaten up all your time, and we appreciate it each and every opportunity we have to get you on the show, because you bring a refreshing, different look at some same old problems. So we appreciate it, man.
Anyway, thanks, boys. We looking forward to seeing you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Don't
we're
forget,
a couple weeks.
we got a big lobster boil at
Yeah.
the Pan American on the Thursday night from, you know, my buddies from Patterson Marine, actually.
Yes.
And
Nice.
they're donating all the lobster. It should be great. You guys make sure we'll see you there for
Oh,
sure.
for
Oh,
sure,
we'll be
for
there,
sure.
brother. Don't you worry
All
about
right.
that one.
All the best, my friend.
See you,
Good
Jeff.
luck. We'll see you in a few days.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Jeff Wilson from Striper Bass fame, the Miramichi Striper Cup, which I think it's kind of the leader for putting the spotlight on that whole area, including obviously the Miramichi.
Absolutely, it's done
with-
huge for that. A lot of eyeballs there now, in that, you know, in the positive side of the bass and in general, especially stripers. But I think it's bringing it in bass, you know, smallmouth, and now hopefully largemouth too.
So that's interesting to know that Ron James was right the other day when he said that you can fly fish
Yeah,
without using a fly rod or fly line or a fly reel.
Yeah, you could use the really, really light spinning gear, like a ultra light, or that new BFS bait cast finesse system. That might even throw us a bigger fly out there.
I think just bigger for those stripers. I mean, you saw the baits that they hit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
why
yeah.
wouldn't they, like one of those
Oh,
big pike
for
streamers?
sure. For sure that would work.
Right, you can whip that baby out
For sure that
on
would work.
spinning gear for a mile.
Nice braid on that? Absolutely. Might not get the fish in, but you're going to have some fun in the process, that's for sure.
Anyways, that's a whole new show I've got in my mind right now.
We'll go up there. Hey, yeah.
Test the theory.
Test the theory. That'd be good. That would be really good.
Anyways, that are it, folks. We've got to run. I want to thank everybody for joining us once again. Don't forget fishingcanada.com, the gateway, the portal to your next fishing adventure, just sitting there waiting for you.
We're going to have 2 lobster meals out there.
I just realized that.
It's
going to be a lobster fest.
Oh, dude, we're talking about not getting any seafood out there. Well, we're set up this time. Ooh, sorry. Okay, go ahead. Whew.
No, now you got me off kilter. On behalf of the entire crew, Vova, who's been patiently waiting, we ran into overtime, and so he's starting to nod off a little
must,
bit. We
get
got about actually, you know, when you really think about it, Bova's come a long way, because originally when he first started with us and we do these podcasts, he would fall asleep on the couch.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
Now he's
Out
been sitting
in the field.
He's got no couch, he says.
If he had a couch, he'd be down and
Volvo over there behind the camera. Nick just ran out of the room as we were closing the show.
He's never stayed for a full one, ever.
No, he can't.
Ever.
It's impossible.
Is it OCD?
Oh, he's got every alphabet you could put together problem.
He's got the entire alphabet.
He's got the whole alphabet. And, of course, our good friend Dean Taylor,
don't
producer
point
of the
over
show.
there. Dean's over there, isn't he?
Well, yes.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah,
He's,
go to
over
one of
there.
these.
He just moved them. Thanks, everybody. Peter Bowman, Angelo Viola. We'll catch you next time. This episode of Outdoor Journal Radio has been brought to you in part by the Invasive Species Center, protecting Canada's land and water from invasive species, and Sail, the ultimate destination for your outdoor adventures.